Sorry.
Thank you, because it's important that this type of attention is brought to the circumstances that are taking place. Sure. Alexander Kemp, Alexander, last name is Kemp, Kemp.
Perfect. In your position?
I'm a bus operator on New York City Transit at a Jackson Police and Bus Depot.
Perfect. Am I in your way with my arm? Tell me a little bit about, again, what brings you guys here today?
Sure. So I was one of the candidates on the slate that's having our votes removed. What's so disgusting, the travesty about this process is that the democracy, the standard of unionism is based on trust. How can you have a democracy if you can't trust the functions or the facilities that are in place to protect that? The reason why we brought our argument to this building is because in the event you have a division or something goes awry on a lower level, whereas if you have the opportunity for corruption to be in place. This building, on the third floor, the fourth floor, and the ninth floor, have facilities to protect that, to stop that from happening. The reality is that they're complicit because they actually benefit from it. This election, unique other than others, have flipped a division who have been long-standing probably for about the last 15 years. The members, throughout the pandemic and throughout COVID, have became aware about how little our lives matter. The value of the integrity of the members have been superseded by the wills and the wants by individual members or officers in our local. They are choosing the benefit of themselves over the will of the people. When the will of the people spoke in this most recent election, they refused to accept the consequences of that election, except for one seat. They said that the election was tainted, that there was some way, as Rich explained, some form of corruption with the ballots, that the ballots were too neatly marked. And therefore, based on that, they provided anonymous witness to suggest that they took part in some type of illicit behavior. The results of that were a neutral monitor, or we call her the unneutral monitor, aligned with John Paul Patafio, who's the VP of buses and TA service, determined that they would rerun the election because that's the best remedy. That if there was questionable ballots, and be it 123, if there were, according to them, and they found the magic number to find exactly by how many they lost, just to make this stick. When they redid it, they said, well, we're going to rerun it because there's questionable ballots and the process has been tainted. But what we're going to do is we're going to allow the one person, JP, the protester, to keep his title. We're not going to rerun his. He won by 28 votes. Alexander Kemp won by, my closest margin was 231. But yet all of our seats have to be reran, and everybody's voice here gets removed except for the voices that spoke for John Paul Patafio. That is not a democracy, that is a hypocrisy.
Okay, so your position is now kind of in jeopardy because
well, so what they determined was that I ran for two seats, one being the recording secretary of our division and the executive board, which is the governing body of our local. They said as a concession, because I'm such a nice guy, they're going to allow me to stay on the executive board, but I'm going to have to rerun the recording secretary. So please explain to me, in the standard of corruption, if I am part of a corrupted slate, a slate that committed fraud, a slate that is complicit with stealing elections from the members, how is it that you see fit that I'm able to stay on the governing body of our local, the part that will vote on our contracts, vote on employee discipline, vote on officer discipline. So I'm good enough to be a half a cheater, but I'm whole enough a cheater that everybody who stands with me should be removed. The people standing here are not standing here because they believe that we took part in fraud. The people standing here know who they voted for. So to suggest that their voices don't matter because it doesn't benefit the narrative of the elite, the people in the VIP section, the members are not going to stand for it anymore. And the reality is the power of the people can't be denied. Our local, our collective body, our movement that they created by exonerating our rights or removing us from the process is only going to keep growing. And that's why we're standing here. And just to be very clear, Richard Thorne is the chairman of the Flatbush Bus Depot, and they are trying to use him as an example to start this movement against us, because he is the one who refuses to be complicit with their narrative. He is the one who historically has always stood in opposition to covert consequences, covert tactics when the reality is that democracy can't live behind closed doors. Transparency and integrity lives right here. The people who are standing in front of you have nothing to hide. The people back there who won't come outside and address this issue are the ones who are intended to steal our votes, and we're not accepting it.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
No white flags, folks. No white flags.
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 JP. JP.
JP. Weasel. JP. Weasel. I say JP. Y'all say Weasel. JP. 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 Weasel.
Why he can't run for his seat, but his whole team underneath him can run for their seats again?
Because our jobs are beneath them. Because what we do for a living is beneath them. They are not fighting for our rights. They're fighting for their right to not do our job. How can they possibly represent our best interest when what we do every day is beneath them? How can the quality of our life, how can we trust that they are bargaining in good faith on our behalf when they can't even acknowledge our voices? When they won't even have the decency to accept the outcome of an election that these members have taken part in? We ask for nothing. We demand everything. Because the reality is we cannot be a great local as long as there are people on the 3rd floor, the 4th floor, and the 9th floor who think that they're better than the people they serve. You know, this election showed a lot. It showed that the value of what we believe in still has purpose. They say that we're naive because we shouldn't burn bridges or we shouldn't come out here and fight for what we believe is right. But I don't care about pissing them off because I don't represent them. I represent the members. So if JP, if who's our president's name again? Because I see him so little. Tony Utano, yes. I believe he's in the building.
Who?
Yeah. What was his name? I'm sorry. President Tony Utano, right?
When the last time you heard of him?
I haven't seen him.
I haven't seen him either.
We haven't seen him either.
My question is, what role does he play in our democracy? What role does John Samuelson play in our democracy?
None.
They play a great role. Their role is to be complicit in stealing it from us. Their role is to stand in the VIP section with the velvet rope while everybody else is on the line outside looking in, wonder what the champagne tastes like. And then they have the nerve to tell us when we speak up and fight for ourselves collectively that we are obnoxious, we are naive, and we are treasonous. When the reality is that is their burden, and you are only as good as your leader. If I'm a liar, it's because I learned it from watching what's been taking place here for the last 20 years. These people have not driven a bus since 2005. So if the process or if the circumstances or the consequences of our titles have been eroded, it's their burden. They've created it. We just do the job. They're the ones who are negotiating discipline. They're the ones who are negotiating the quality of life that we have. Oh, but now that the quality of life is so diminished, this job is beneath them to go back. And they will lie, they will steal, and they will cheat in order to never go back to the environment that they created. That is their burden, and we are sending them back to the bus. I guarantee you that.
Yes.